For the sake of my child's high school entrance exam, I moved into a building across from the school. The nights are always feel especially long. The gasping sounds from next door scratched at my heart like a cat's claws. That day, the man downstairs who always kept to himself found an excuse to knock on my door, his fingertips inadvertently brushing the back of my hand. The scorching heat burned all the way from my skin to the depths of my heart, and in an instant, the air was thick with an indescribable, restless heat, so that my child could focus single-mindedly on preparing for the high school entrance exam. I rented a tiny shared room in a building just a wall away from his school. This old residential building was almost entirely filled with parents like me, who had left their homes for the sake of their children's futures. Days were as bland as a glass of boiled water, uneventful, uneventful, uneventful. Our daily lives consisted of nothing more than shuttling between the grocery store and the kitchen, preparing 3 meals a day for our children. Yet when the center of life shrinks to waiting, when the silence of the night stretches endlessly, an emotion called middle-aged loneliness quietly grows and spreads within this building, we men and women of the same age in the idleness of day after day find that eye contact becomes subtly charged, and our verbal carries a bit more warmth. My name is Lin Wan, mother of a 15-year-old boy. For the final push of my son's high school entrance exam, I had poured nearly everything I had. My husband works out of town and I see him only a few times a year. One ordinary night, I got up to use the public restroom at the end of the hallway. As soon as I opened my door, a suppressed, hurried sound of panting piped into my ears. It came from the room next door. Say, my feet as if beyond longing contained in that sound shot through me, like an electric current, piercing my body and had been for so long. I instinctively bit my lower lip, my cheeks flushing with heat. Since moving here, I hadn't felt the embrace of a man a long time. My body as primal desires, magnified by the S-Lift broadcast, swelled uncontrollably. I stood quietly by the wall, listening to the rising and falling sounds until everything returned to silence. Then reluctantly gathered my thoughts and sighed softly. Back in my room, lying on the bed, my mind was filled with the scene from just now. The light next door was still on. It seemed they wouldn't fell down tonight. I tossed and turned, not falling asleep until early morning. There were similarly embarrassing scenes. The next morning, waking up to slightly damp sheets, I gave a wry smile. What was happening to me? After being stimulated by the neighbors, something that had been inside my body seemed to have been awakened. Wait, you didn't sleep well last night, did you? You look like you have dark circles, said Su-King, the woman next door, smiling as she met me at the door. I gave her a resentful glare. If it weren't empty for you, I'd have slept fine. Su-King was startled, then quickly understood. She pulled me into her room and lowered her voice. Oh dear, my husband happened to come visit me yesterday. Did we disturb you? There was a knowing smile in her eyes that made me uncomfortable. You sent your husband out of town? I asked, surprised. Su-King smiled mysteriously and leaned close to my ear. You only just moved here, you don't yet know the rules of this building. We're all adults, so living alone for so long we inevitably have needs. So among ourselves we help each other out, give each other some comfort. Once we leave this building we don't know each other. Her words were like a pebble thrown into the calm lake of my heart, stirring up ripples. This was similar to the construction site couples I'd heard about. Didn't you say you were quite hungry too? How about I introduce you to someone? The guy who came to my place last night, old Chen. He is a good man, strong and fit. Su-King winked at me, her tone tempting. No need, I said quickly, my face burning. Why be shy? Your son still has a whole semester before the exam. You'll be here for months. Are you really going to be a nun for all that time? Su-King pursed her lips, looking like she was giving me sincere advice. In the end, I politely declined. Su-King didn't push you, just said to let her know whenever I changed my mind. After seeing Su-King off, I went back to my room and downed 2 glasses of cold boiled water, trying to extinguish the inexplicable restlessness in my heart. But Su-King's words echoed in my ears like a curse, and my heart was thoroughly unsettled. Another night, when the sounds from next door kept me from sleeping, I finally called in to resist. I found a cucumber and took care of my body as urgent needs alone in the bathroom. The next day, Su-King came to see me, her face glowing. As soon as she entered, she covered her mouth and chuckled softly. Hi Wan, sorry about last night. Old Jenny is just good. I called in to help myself. I glared at her, but pretended to ask casually, about old Chen, is he really that good? Su-King's eyes curved into a mischievous smile. Tempted. I told you I'd introduce you yesterday, but you had to play hard to get. Tonight I'll bring old Chen over to your place for dinner. You'd better seize the opportunity. That is not what I meant, I blushed, waving my hands. Suking made a dismissive sound. Throughout to get ready, I'll go talk to old Chen, and turned to leave, watching her retreating figure. I stood there in a daze, a secret anticipation budding in my heart. But soon I shook my head. Wen, wake up. You can't betray your husband, yet, whether because of the intense desires deep inside or some other reason. That afternoon I honestly cooked a table full of dishes. I even called my son and told him to eat at the school cafeteria that night. With a mix of anxiety, self-blame, and hidden expectation, I sat at the table, staring blankly at the door. When the knock finally came, I flinched, hesitated for a moment, then got up to answer it. At the door stood Suking and a very refined-looking middle-aged man. Wen, this is old Chen. Suking winked at me. Hello, I am Chen Mo. Chen Mo gave a slight bow and extended his hand. His voice was gentle, with a faint scholarly air. Blushing, I nervously reached out and shook his hand lightly. Hello, I am Lin Wan. Please come in. At the dinner table, I felt a bit guilty facing Chen Mo and Suking, especially when I noticed Chen Mo's gaze occasionally falling on me. My heart raced even faster. I was no young girl, nearly 40, and I knew very well what his look implied. I had to admit Chen Mo was good-looking. Though middle-aged, his face had no trace of easiness. Instead, he exuded a mature, steady, somewhat mysterious charm. Compared to my husband, who was always away and never bothered with his appearance, the difference was like night and day. Feeling uncomfortable under Chen Mo's gaze, I sat silently at the table. Fortunately, Suking kept the atmosphere lively, and gradually I relaxed and started talking with Chen Mo, chatting about everyday matters. And Chen Mo had moved here last year. His daughter was also in her 3rd year of middle school, about to take the entrance exam. Oh my, I am dizzy. I can't eat anymore. I have to go rest. Chen Mo, take good care of Lin Wan. Suking suddenly clutched her head, stood up unsteadily, and wobbled toward the door. My eyes flickered. I instinctively stood and walked over to support her. I built a bridge for you. Don't you waste my effort, Suking whispered to me, without looking drunk at all. She gave me a dismissive look, pushed me back inside, and closed the door behind her. Now alone with Chen Mo, the atmosphere instantly became delicate. Lin Wan, I am a fitness trainer. I could help you relax. Chen Mo suddenly pushed up his glasses, his eyes fixed intently on me. I had been drinking, so my face was already flushed. Wouldn't that be too much trouble for you? I bit my lower lip in, speaking softly. No trouble at all. Happy to help. Chen Mo stood up. As he approached step by step, my breathing quickened. Come, let me help you relax first. Chen Mo took my hand and led me toward the bedroom. I stiffly followed him and was gently pressed down onto the bed. Don't be nervous. Why not start by loosening your shoulders? Chen Mo's palms were warm and strong. His movements seemed professional, but each time his fingertips slid, there was a feint. My body, tensed involuntarily, then gradually relaxed under his kneading, even developing a strange tingling sensation. And then I called in Chi, letting out a soft moan. Chen Mo's hand slid from my shoulders down my back, then slowly along my waistline, yet electric, making me shiver. Before I knew it, Chen Mo had leaned me down, his warm breaths preying on my neck, his lips gently pressed against my collarbone, sending a ticklish shiver through me. I instinctively arched my back, responding to his movements. In bed, Chen Mo was completely different from his appearance. If he looked like a gentle, scholarly man, in bed he was a king in control. I was overwhelmed by his, able only to pant weakly beneath him. When everything subsided, I was so limp I couldn't even move a finger. I looked at Chen Mo, who had gotten up to go to the bathroom with a slight fear, but even more so with an unprecedented sense of satisfaction and pleasure. Say, it was just a good, that feeling of being completely filled. How many years had it been since I'd last experienced it? By the time Chen Mo came back from washing up, I had regained some strength. Lin, this was your first time since moving here, wasn't it? Chen Mo lay on the bed, his arm around my shoulder, his voice lazy and slightly hoarse. I was still feeling a bit guilty, shrinking under the covers, and softly murmured. Chen Mo grinned. Next Monday, our building is having a social gathering. A lot of people from the building will come. You should come with Suking. Social gathering? I looked at him confused, but Chen Mo just smiled mysteriously and didn't say more. The way he looked at me turned hot again. Huh? I gasped, and soon the room was filled once more with the sounds of blushes and racing heart. When I woke up the next day, Chen Mo was already gone. My legs were a little weak getting out of bed, but remembering the madness of the night before, I called in to help, smiling. It felt so good to be cherished, to be holding on to the wall. I walked out of the bedroom and saw my son coming in through the front door. 你又过了70岁. Mama, why are you up so late, eh? My son looked at me strangely. Son, Mom overslept. I'll make you something to eat right away. Soon, I came out with a bowl of noodles. Eat up, then go to school. My son frowned, looked around the room, and glanced at me. What is that smell in here? Yeah, that's weird. I sniffed and indeed detected a faint, masculine odor. My face stiffened. I had Suking and some others over for dinner yesterday. Oh, my son just grunted and buried his face in his noodles. After he finished, he went off to school. I sighed in relief, opened all the windows in the room, and started cleaning up the battlefield in the bedroom. My son didn't yet know what that smell meant, otherwise I wouldn't be able to face him again. Lenwan, what are you doing? Suking pushed open the door as I was tidying up. As I was at, judging by the sounds you made last night, you enjoyed it, didn't you? I rolled the bed sheets into a ball, walked out of the bedroom, rolled my eyes at her, and twisted my ear. Suking shrugged, bare-faced eager. Next Monday, there is a social gathering in our building. Did old Chen tell you? He did. He was so mysterious about it. I asked him what the gathering was and he wouldn't say. I threw the sheets into the washing machine. Man, well, it's say. Who's gathering? Well, you will all find out when you go. Suking also spoke in riddles. Chen Chenmo had successfully piqued my curiosity about this social gathering. All right, I'll go with you next Monday. Suking playfully patted my bottom. Don't you worry. It'll be lots of fun. That evening, Chenmo came again, and we went crazy another night. But he didn't come back after that, because on Friday evening, all the parents' children came home from school and wouldn't return until Sunday night. Finally, Monday arrived, from fitting black dress and told me to put it on. After some hesitation, I put it on. Suking exclaimed exaggerated. When I had no idea you had such a great figure. I didn't understand what she meant. I tugged at the fabric that barely covered my chest. Suking, isn't this too revealing? Suking rolled her eyes. It is called sexy. Don't you get it? She took my hand and led me upstairs, all the way to the top floor. She pushed open a door in the corner, and I was surprised to see such a large up there. Many people were already inside, all residents of the building. They were dressed elegantly, chatting and laughing, the atmosphere lively. 有人过了70岁. They're right here. Chenmo walked over and, to my fluster, wrapped one arm around me and the other around Suking, pulling us both into an embrace. I instinctively tried to pull away from Chenmo's arms. Chenmo held me tighter, looking puzzled. What is wrong? Seeing so many people around, I blushed. There are so many people here. Chenmo laughed, but before he could speak, Suking chimed in. Lenwa, why are you so shy? Everyone here is just like us, and no one is going to judge you. With that, Suking took Chenmo's arm on, right in front of me, started kissing him, who seemed oblivious at everything around her. They kissed for a full minute before stopping. Chenmo then announced to the group, "This is Lenwan, our newest member. Everyone, give her a warm welcome." Clap, clap, clap resealed the room. Flustered and overwhelmed, I smiled stiffly and waved awkwardly at everyone. Chenmo seemed to sense my discomfort. He took my hand and led me into the crowd. A moment later, music began to play, and the lights in the activity room suddenly went out. The sudden dark kinda startled me, and I instinctively grabbed the hand of the Chenmo beside me. Chenmo pulled me into his arms and started swaying to the rhythm of the music. I clung to him, feeling the movements of his body beneath mine. I'd never been so intimately close to a man in front of so many people. The feeling gave me an oddly thrilling sensation. After a few minutes, the music ended and the lights came back on. I was already out of breath, my body drenched in sweat. Chenmo, I looked up and froze. He was Chenmo. The man standing in front of me was a complete stranger. My face changed, a mix of shame and anger. I quickly pushed him away. You are not Chenmo. Embarrassed and furious, I looked around for Chenmo. Suking at that moment was coyly laughing in the arms of yet another man. I was completely disoriented. What on earth was going on? When say, what is wrong? The man I had been dancing with approached me. I quickly stepped back 2 paces on guard. Suking noticed the commotion, ran over, pulled me aside, and whispered urgently, Wenwan, what are you doing? What am I doing? What are you doing? What the hell is going on? I was getting angry. Suking quickly explained. Didn't I tell you? Social gathering. I waited for her to explain. Suking rolled her eyes. Let me put it plainly. Our building holds this kind of gathering every few weeks. Here, when the music starts and the lights go out, you can grab any and dance with them. After the gathering ends, so you can do whatever you want with them. I stared blankly at Suking. Suking pursed her lips. So, don't you look at me like that. Don't you think it is exciting? Let me tell you, Linwood. 我言报了70岁. All the time that's boring. But that's why we started this gathering so everyone can have a good time. Suking spoke so matter-of-factly that I was left speechless. Wang Ziyaxi, what are you standing there for? Come take Lemon for a drink. Suking called out to the man I had danced with. Wang Ziyaxi immediately gave an apologetic smile. Coming. Let us go have a drink. I wanted to refuse, but Suking pulled me along under Suking's guidance. I drank quite a bit, and in the end, I didn't even remember how I got home. When I felt someone pressing down on me, I opened my eyes and saw Wang Ziyaqi's face. Huh? Just as I tried to speak, he quickened his pace, drowning all my words in waves of intense pleasure. Soon, Wang Ziyachi collapsed on top of me, panting. With mixed feelings, I looked at him coldly. Why are you here? I recognized my surroundings. It was my home. Wang Ziyachi was taken aback, then said, You were drunk, are you back? My eyes flickered. I told Wang Ziyachi to get dressed and leave. Wang Ziyachi frowned at me before leaving, probably thinking I was being pretentious. I had attended the gathering, and now I was kicking him out. But only I knew that from the very beginning. I had gone to that gathering without knowing what it really entailed. Even what happened with Wang Ziyachi happened because I was drunk. The next day, Suking came to see me again. Suking, why did you get me drunk and let Wang Ziyachi take me home? I questioned her angrily. Suking looked at me in surprise. Linwon, I was just creating an opportunity for you. Once you replayed this game, you will definitely want to play it again. Seeing Suking's look of I am doing this for your own good, I got even angrier. I growled at her, keeping my voice low. Suking's expression stiffened. Linwon, stop pretending. If you were really so virtuous, so why didn't you refuse when I brought old Chen to your place last week? Now you were playing the innocent with me? That's different, I shouted in frustration. Suking waved her hand impatiently. Fine, different if you say so. Then go on being your pure maiden. She turned and left, ignoring me. I watched helplessly as Suking walked into her own side in annoyance. In the days that followed, Suking didn't come to see me again. Neither did Chenmo, probably because Suking had told him about me. Although I felt a little disappointed, I told myself it was no big deal, and happened before I would treat it as a dream. I buried it deep in my heart. I refocused, putting all my energy into my son. I was determined to help him get into a good high school. Months passed, and finally, the time for my son's high school entrance exam arrived. Those months had been somewhat tea. From someone's door, from time to time, I could still hear the sounds of men and women in battle. Many nights I called into sleep because of it. In the end, I bought myself a small toy, and whenever I called in to bear it anymore, I took care of myself. My son's exams went very well. I immediately prepared a big celebratory dinner for him. But it was empty, just me. Almost all the parents in the building did the same, partly to celebrate the end of the exams for their children, and partly because, with the exams over, the parents would be leaving, most of them never to return. It was a kind of farewell. Around 10 that evening, as I was cleaning up, I heard angry shouting from Suking's place next door, followed by a series of bangs and crashes. Curious, I stepped out into the hallway and looked toward her door. Several other neighbors also came out to see what was happening. Chenmo, are you even human? Suddenly, Suking's door burst open, and Chenmo ran out stark naked. Behind him, Suking, wielding a broom, whacked him hard on the back. Beast, you beast! Suking chased Chenmo, swinging the broom furiously, cursing non-stop. The neighbors and I stood frozen in shock. What was Suking saying? We looked at each other in confusion, and our faces filled with anger. Any mother would be even angrier than Suking in such a situation. We stared at each other, none of us stepping in to stop Suking, ignoring Chenmo's pleas for help. I felt a wave of relief that I had cut things off with Chenmo. Otherwise, who knew if he might have set his sights on my son. Half an hour later, the police arrived. Someone in the building had called them. Suking accused Chenmo of raping her and presented a pair of underwear with Chenmo as his evidence. But we all knew that Suking, as a mother, was trying to protect her daughter, to keep her from being ruined by this incident. The police quickly took them away for questioning. Since the exams were over and this scandal had erupted, most of us parents packed up and moved out the next day. As for my experiences during those months I buried them deep in my heart and never spoke of them to anyone. The night the high school entrance exams ended, the building was unusually lively. The smell of home-cooked food wafted from every household, as if putting a full stop full of the flavors of life to this long battle. I sat at the table, watching my son wolf down the last meal I had made for him, my heart filled with a mix of emotions. These past few months had been like a ridiculous yet real dream. My son had gone to school for his graduation ceremony, and I was alone packing up this small room that held so many secrets. Sunlight streamed through the window, shining on the empty bedded bed that had witnessed my struggles, my downfall, and moments of fleeting pleasure. Suking next door had long moved away. I heard she had taken her daughter to another city. The door from which so many ambiguous sounds had once emanated was now tightly shut, covered in dust. I walked to the window and looked down at the bustling crowd below. Those once familiar faces now seemed somewhat strange. We had been fellow passengers on the same boat, huddling together for warmth in the ocean of loneliness, only to part ways hastily upon reaching the shore, burying those shameful memories deep in the soil called. My phone vibrated, a text message from an unfamiliar number. Just a few words: "Is everything still okay?" I did not reply. I knew that some boundaries, once crossed, could never be crossed back, and some memories are meant to be sealed in the deepest, most hidden corners of the heart, like seeds that will never sprout, sleeping quietly in the dust of time. I turned off my phone and drew the curtains. The room instantly darkened, as if shutting out all the past. I picked up a rag and began wiping the dust off the table. I knew that when the sun rose tomorrow, I would take my son and leave his place, returning to our original life. I would continue to be a good mother, a good wife, erasing this episode completely from my existence. But I also knew that some things had changed forever, just like this building. Even after everyone is left, the stories that once unfolded here had seeped into every wall, every brick becoming a part of its life, unknown to anyone, yet real. I stopped what I was doing and gazed at the setting sun outside the window. The golden afterglow fell on the school building in the distance, gilding that cold structure with a warm halo. I took a deep breath, as if inhaling that last bit of warmth deep into my lungs. Then I turned around and began packing my luggage. Life must go on, and some dreams, once awakened, stay awakened. I closed the latch cautiously. I heard a soft click. The sound was unusually clear in the silent room. I picked up the kerchief and took one last look at the room. Then I opened the door and walked out. The hallway was empty, only the sound of my footsteps echoing. Step by step I walked toward the stairwell, toward the ordinary yet real world I was about to return to. I knew that the moment I stepped out of this building, all the ambiguity, the struggle, the pleasure, then the pain would become the past. The sun was a bit dazzling. I squinted, took a deep breath of the outside air. A new life had begun. Once XIU friend told a story about a man who, when no one was looking, would sneak into a woman's room and gently knock to the floor the fan she had casually placed on the table. XIU friend had thought about such things too. After all, she had taken those legal pamphlets handed out on the street and had paid attention to their content. But when that feeling truly came upon her, when XIU friend was wrapped in a warm current of air, and a gentle whisper in her ear sounded truer than anything else, XIU friend actually lost all sensation. It was one of those indescribable moments. In that instance of adult responsibility surfaced in XIU friend's heart. She could only sob out loud. Her ears seemed to hear that tender whisper again, as if telling her that because someone had patiently waited, had hungered with anticipation, that precise response was something nothing else could replace. That sentence enveloped XIU friend completely, wrapping everything in an atmosphere deeper than reality. And behind this hidden emotion lay a shockingly impactful truth, and secrets more heartbreaking than the last, which ultimately rewrote XIU friend's once common peaceful family life. This is a story that happened to XIU friend. XIU friend has just turned 60. She once ran a small business and worked as a business manager, but now she is a person no one pays much attention to. Every day before dawn, she wakes up and sits idly in the living room, staring blankly, watching the sky outside brighten little by little. Her heart feels empty. XIU friend's husband, Mingwei, though 2 years younger than XIU friend, completely dominates her at home. Still, XIU friend occasionally goes out for walks, making excuses about having something to do, but in fact she goes nowhere. She just doesn't want to see anyone. XIU friend's pension is meager. It has barely enough for groceries and cooking. Though not spoken of much, life has been very hard. XIU friend's husband always wears a stern face, and XIU friend can only endure silently. The older she gets, the more aggrieved she feels. Sometimes she really thinks that perhaps just a few seconds could end it all. His words stab at XIU friend's heart like needles. After decades of marriage, looking at each other, they always feel life has been a bitter. Deep down, Xiaoyu Fan really wants to make some changes, so she is eager to earn money. Her husband constantly pressures her to socialize more with relatives and friends. That day, while handing out flyers, Xiaoyu Fan met a passerby and began talking about believing in Jesus to gain eternal life and enter heaven. Most people just glance and walk on, but a few stop to listen. When someone actually stops, Xiaoyu Fan feels she has rediscovered a bit of meaning in living, and her mood improves. After all, Xiaoyu Fan was only handing out flyers in front of Changshu MRT station. She noticed a figure nearby stirring awake. The person was dressed elegantly with a great figure, confident demeanor. She looked to be in her early 50s, simply dressed yet naturally graceful, with hair that seemed naturally beautiful. Looking closer, you saw a gentle, smiling face. Xiaoyu Fan instinctively handed over a flyer, gently, cautiously. The voice was so gentle. During the brief conversation, Xiaoyu Fan's gaze was unconsciously drawn to her. The other woman wore a tight-knit top, her feminine curves faintly visible, and tight pants. When she unconsciously turned, the lines outlined by her clothes were truly a little heart-fluttering. Xiaoyu Fan felt her heart race, but Talenti helped stealing more glances. When the woman said, "I'll be going now, take your time," watching her back, Xiaoyu Fan's heart felt as if pricked by something. She could feel her heart beating. Thinking of her husband's cold face, Xiaoyu Fan suppressed the feeling, but that woman's voice lingered in Xiaoyu Fan's ears. Stranger still, though feeling a bit uneasy, there was also a strange excitement spinning in Xiaoyu Fan's mind. That beautiful woman, whenever Xiaoyu Fan went out to hand out flyers, she would involuntarily think of her. Xiaoyu Fan kept lingering in the vicinity. Xiaoyu Fan felt stifled and went alone to the back mountain to clear her head. Returning home, she had to face her husband Zhang Cheng as nagging again. Going out to hand out flyers at least gave her some time to herself. Going to the mountain top at least let her be alone for a while. Xiaoyu Fan wanted to use this to steady herself. She told Yang Chen she was going for a walk in the mountains. Yang Chen just nodded. He was interested in what Xiaoyu Fan did. Xiaoyu Fan grabbed a can of beer, changed her clothes, and left, walking along the mountain path. All kinds of thoughts swirled in Xiaoyu Fan's mind, passing by places where she had dreams in her youth, those childish, unsettled emotions. As she lived now, walking alone on the quiet mountain path, Xiaoyu Fan felt empty inside. Because it was a weekday morning, there was hardly anyone. It was very quiet. Xiaoyu Fan sat down, took out the beer from her bag, poured a cup, and drank slowly. The cool wind brushed her face, and she finally felt a little lighter. Just then, a woman's voice came from behind. "Well, the view is really beautiful." Xiaoyu Fan turned and saw a woman in hiking clothes approaching. Looking closely, it was the same woman from before. Xiaoyu Fan's heart jumped. "Hello, I am Jingyi." Jingyi smiled. "Are you hiking alone?" "Yes, I was feeling bored at home." "Are you alone too?" "Yes, I am also out for a walk alone," Jingyi said, sitting down next to Xiaoyu Fan. She wore tight hiking clothes, her elegant figure even more pronounced. The lines outlined by her clothing were truly beautiful. Xiaoyu Fan felt that if she didn't misuse this opportunity, she was sure to regret it. "Why don't you sit and have a beer with me? The beer is really good." Jingyi smiled back. Xiaoyu Fan's heart began to pound. As they sat drinking and chatting, though they had just met, Jingyi asked, "Sister, are you married?" Xiaoyu Fan said, "The relationship is any good. I'd been divorced for several years." Mentioning the divorce made Xiaoyu Fan's heart pound again. This meant Jingyi also lived alone. Jingyi asked. Xiaoyu Fan took another sip of beer. Their conversation deepened. Xiaoyu Fan's married life had not been happy. Her ex-husband was a salesman. She had thought they had a good relationship and had even dreamed of traveling together after retirement. But because of money problems, at home, Xiaoyu Fan always had to watch people's faces, never knowing when she might displease someone. As she unknowingly poured out her heart, Jingyi listened, then sighed softly. "You must have suffered a lot, but you still look like a very feminine woman." With that, Jingyi gently touched Xiaoyu Fan's arm. In that moment, Xiaoyu Fan's whole body trembled slightly, every pore opening up. That subtle feeling made Xiaoyu Fan think Jingyi was interested in her. Xiaoyu Fan's heart raced even faster. "Thank you. I haven't heard words like that in a long time." Xiaoyu Fan said in a slightly shaky voice. Living alone was just so lonely. It felt good to have someone to talk to like this. Jingyi, in her light hiking clothes, sat beside Xiaoyu Fan. Xiaoyu Fan kept thinking strange thoughts. What would it feel like to get closer? But she couldn't control the thought. Was there a chance to meet again? Xiaoyu Fan gathered her courage and asked, "Sure." Shall we exchange phone numbers? They exchanged numbers. Xiu Fan felt that something special had formed between them. Jinyi looked at Xiu Fan gently and said, Sister Xiu Fan, I look forward to getting to know you better. When Jinyi got up, she looked back at Xiu Fan and waved gently. Xiu Fan waved gently. Hearing that, she almost cried. She watched Jinyi as retreating figure for a long time. It truly was a very special day. After exchanging numbers with Jinyi, a few days passed. Xiu Fan wanted to send her a message but told herself not to rush and held back. That morning, Xiu Fan received a message from Jinyi for her sister Xiu Fan. How are you? I was so happy that day on the mountain top. If we could meet again, would you like to have coffee? The moment she saw the message, Xiu Fan's heart nearly leapt out of her chest. She immediately replied, Jinyi, I've been thinking about you every day since then. I can't seem to focus on anything. Jinyi replied, then tomorrow at 2 in the afternoon, in front of the MRT station. Sure, it is a deal. How wonderful she felt alive again. She didn't need to dress up after all. It wasn't anything improper. Looking in the mirror, Xiu Fan felt she looked a bit more like a woman again. When Xiu Fan arrived at the coffee shop, Jinyi was already waiting. Xiu Fan noticed immediately that Jinyi was wearing a light blue shirt and a skirt truly beautiful, revealing a glimpse of what lay beneath the kind of visibility that was tantalizing. No, I just got here. Please sit. Please have face to face, drinking coffee and chatting. How do you usually spend your time? Oh, the same old at home doing nothing. You must have a hard time too. You work hard as well, Xiu Fan said. You run an online shopping business. And that's impressive. Xiu Fan didn't know much about computers, just chatted casually. Xiu Fan's gaze kept drifting to Jinyi's body, the contours faintly visible through her clothes and the gentle undulations like waves. Her posture was so elegant yet carried an indescribable allure. With vague curves were enough to make one's heart flutter. Xiu Fan felt that her husband Yang Chen could never give her this kind of excitement. Sister Xiu Fan, was your relationship with your ex-husband really that bad? It's really bad. I didn't even have anyone to talk to. You must have been very lonely. Yes, very lonely. Being able to talk with you like this, Xiu Fan feels truly comforted. After finishing their coffee, about an hour had passed, and Xiu Fan felt they were growing closer. Jinyi would occasionally touch Xiu Fan's hand lightly, or lean slightly toward her while speaking. If you have time, would you like to come to my place? I could cook a few dishes for you. Jinyi's invitation was completely unexpected. Xiu Fan's heart started pounding again. Are you sure it is convenient? I live alone, Jinyi said softly. Jinyi's home was a tidy apartment just right for one person. The right size, neatly arranged. Watching Jinyi's figure as she prepared food in the kitchen, Xiu Fan's heart began to gently flutter. No need, just sit, Jinyi said with a smile. Watching Jinyi cook, her sight was truly moving. She wore a skirt, and as she moved around the kitchen, the hem floated gently, showing both a woman's softness and a hint of sexiness. When she bent down to get something, the simple would lift slightly, revealing her attractive bodies. Xiu Fan couldn't help but keep staring. Here? Well, it looks delicious, say you worked hard. It is nothing. It makes me happy to do something for you. As they ate, they talked more deeply about the reasons for Jinyi's divorce, her loneliness, and her plans for the future. Xiu Fan poured out her heart. Sister Xiu Fan, you are truly a good person. It is a pity your ex-husband didn't appreciate you. You ate it kind, Xiu Fan said softly. Jinyi poured a little more red wine and sat next to Xiu Fan. Her gaze seemed gentler and more direct than before. Sister Xiu Fan, you really don't know what happiness is. But that's such a shame. If I could give you a little warmth today, what do you think? Xiu Fan felt something stir inside her. Jinyi took Xiu Fan's hand. In that moment, Xiu Fan's whole body stiffened, fine sweat beating on her forehead. The way Jinyi looked at Xiu Fan seemed to hold something more. Sister Xiu Fan, it would be such a pity to end things like this. Would you be willing? Xiu Fan didn't answer. Her heart felt as if touched by something. Compared to Yang Chen's cold attitude, Xiu Fan much preferred being with Jinyi. After the meal, Xiu Fan sat on the sofa, continuing to drink red wine and chat. The atmosphere grew warmer and more intimate. Jinyi sat down beside Xiu Fan, leaned gently against her arm, brought her lips close to Xiu Fan's ear, then spoke in a voice as a feather. Do you think I am a very strange woman? Jinyi asked suddenly, holding the wine glass, trembled slightly and stopped in midair. You've been so gentle with me. I am truly grateful. Jinyi said, looking at Xiu Fan and slowly leaning closer. Xiu Fan's heart began to race violently. An unprecedented thrill made her whole body tense. In that moment, Jinyi's lips slightly brushed Xiu Fan's cheek, like a dragonfly skimming the water. Jinyi whispered in Xiu Fan's ear, Sister Xiu Fan, you are truly a very feminine woman, gentle and inviting. Xiu Fan had no idea how to respond to such a situation. She couldn't tell if it was a dream or reality. Jinyi took Xiu Fan's hand and said softly, Sister Xiu Fan, let me give you everything. And so, Xiu Fan spent a fiery night, holding Jinyi's soft body. Xiu Fan finally felt like a real woman. Sister Xiu Fan, you are such a hard, stony person, Jinyi said, gently touching Xiu Fan's nose. The helplessness she felt at home, her dignity as a woman, all disappeared. The next morning, Xiu Fan returned home. Yang Cheng had already gone to sleep. She tiptoed inside, feeling a trace of guilt, but an even stronger sense of unprecedented satisfaction. From then on, Xiu Fan and Jinyi met often, mostly at Jinyi's place. Sometimes in quiet coffee shops or secluded spots. To Yang Chen, Xiu Fan said she was going for walks or meeting friends. Jinyi was very good to Xiu Fan. When Xiu Fan felt truly a Li Fan. How could your ex-husband, not appreciate a woman like you? You're truly a very charming person. Words like these gave Xiu Fan more strength than anything else. And always she was always disliked and looked down upon. But Jinyi affirmed her, and Xiu Fan became more and more uninhibited. Months passed, and their relationship deepened. Time spent with Jinyi made Xiu Fan happier than time at home. Her sister Xiu Fan, are you truly happy when you were with me? Without you I might have gotten depression. Since meeting you, every day has been joyful. Though Xiu Fan said this, she often felt uneasy. How long could this relationship last? Even so, time with Jinyi was precious to Xiu Fan. It was a kind of emotional feeling she had never experienced before, the only thing that made her feel truly alive. In the hollow years of her life, Xiu Fan had been a woman without presence. But in front of Jinyi, she became a charming woman again. Sister Xiu Fan, today I will warm you up again. The time Xiu Fan spent with Jinyi was her happiest, and so, Xiu Fan lived a sweet secret life. But she didn't know that this happiness was dangerous, and that a shocking truth would eventually be revealed. One day at Jinyi's place, while Jinyi was in the bathroom, Xiu Fan accidentally bumped Jinyi's phone on the table. In that moment, Xiu Fan saw an unbelievable photo. Jinyi and the woman were intimately holding hands. That woman was Xiu Fan's husband, Yang Cheng. Seeing the two of them smiling so happily, Xiu Fan's mind went blank. What was going on? Xiu Fan had no idea what to do. She quickly put the phone back and pretended nothing had happened. But her heart was pounding wildly. Xiu Fan couldn't think straight anymore. Sister Xiu Fan, why do you look so pale? What is wrong? Guessing just a little dizzy, Xiu Fan tried to act normal, but the photo kept spinning in her mind. Jinyi was actually together with Yang Cheng. What did this mean? Xiu Fan couldn't understand at all. Returning home that day, Xiu Fan couldn't stop thinking about the photo. If Jinyi and Yang Cheng were friends, and all of this, Xiu Fan was completely lost. She began to suspect that Jinyi had known about Xiu Fan from the start and had approached her on purpose. Sister Xiu Fan, you've been acting strange today. Jinyi asked Xiu Fan on the phone. Xiu Fan couldn't answer. Jinyi, did you already know me before? Jinyi's expression suddenly changed. Why are you asking that all of a sudden? Jinyi's voice trembled. Xiu Fan was silent for a long time, and finally said, Jinyi, the truth is Yang Cheng and I are friends. Hearing those words, Xiu Fan's mind went blank again. So Jinyi had known everything from the beginning and had come to meet Xiu Fan on purpose. I didn't know. Later, when I heard your name, I realized you were Yang Cheng's wife. Either way, I was wrong, Jinyi said, lowering her head. Sister Xiu Fan, can you forgive me? Xiu Fan leaned against Jinyi. A flood of complex emotions surged up: betrayal, guilt, anger, sadness all at once. So when we met, did Yang Cheng know about this? He didn't know anything about what happened before. He always wanted me to meet you. I later realized what a huge mistake I had made. Sister Xiu Fan, I should have told you a long time ago, Jinyi sobbed. But being with Sister Xiu Fan, I was truly happy. That feeling was real. What if Yami will be completely ruined? Jinyi tried to take Xiu Fan's hand, but Xiu Fan pulled away. Sister Xiu Fan, can't we continue to meet carefully? What should Auntie be doing? That day, Xiu Fan left Jinyi's place, her mind in turmoil. Should she continue this relationship or end it? Yet she couldn't imagine life without Jinyi. Xiu Fan was very distressed. Jinyi sent messages, but Xiu Fan called and no reply. Looking at Yang Chen made her uncomfortable. She didn't know when she might be found out. A week later, Jinyi suddenly called. Xiu Fan was nervous. Sister Xiu Fan, I have something important to tell you. Something very important. Jinyi's voice sounded desperate. She couldn't explain over the phone. Please let us meet one more time, okay? This might be our last. From Jinyi's voice, Xiu Fan felt an indescribable despair. In the end, Xiu Fan decided to meet Jinyi. They met in a corner of a park. Jinyi looked very tired in just a few days. She seemed to have lost a lot of weight. Sister Xiu Fan, please sit. I have something to tell you. Xiu Fan sat down nervously. Jinyi was silent for a long time, then began in a trembling voice, Sister Xiu Fan. Actually, I have a big secret. Something very important. What secret? Jinyi said, tears streaming down her face. Xiu Fan watched her heart tightening. Hearing the words, Xiu Fan felt as if the sky were falling. What did you say? Why are you only telling me now? I had no idea. Xiu Fan exclaimed. Sister Xiu Fan, I am telling you this with compassion. I just wanted to find someone who truly understood me. Jinyi sobbed. Only then did Xiu Fan understand why Jinyi had been so forward. She had been enduring tremendous pain, just searching for a real emotional connection in this world. How could this be? Xiu Fan was speechless, thinking of Jinyi's gentleness and strength over the past months. Xiu Fan's heart nearly broke. Sister Xiu Fan, I was truly happy. Jinyi sobbed. After the divorce, living alone was just so lonely. But because of Sister Xiu Fan, I felt alive. Xiu Fan almost cried too. So what will you do? So hard? Yes, I have no one to talk to. I don't want anyone as pity. Xiu Fan asked in a trembling voice. What if it continues like this? Jinyi said calmly. A few months ago, the cancer cells had already spread throughout my body. The person she loved was about to leave this world, and that person was her husband's friend. Everything had become a tragedy. Sister Xiu Fan, the time I spent with you was the happiest of my life. I am truly grateful to you. Jinyi took Xiu Fan's hand. We really have to part. Xiu Fan held Jinyi's hand tightly. Sister Xiu family, go back to your family. Treat Yang Chen well. Will you go through this hard time alone? Xiu Fan asked. I'd already prepared myself mentally. Because of Sister Xiu Fan, I'd lived a life of passion until the very end. Jinyi said that. Sister Xiu Fan, it is really okay. Now what will you do? Please understand me. I am a selfish person. Sister Xiu Fan, you are someone worthy of love. I don't want your life to become so complicated. With that, Jinyi turned and walked away with a sad smile. There is no need to tell him about my illness. It will be hard for me, hard for you too, but time will heal it. Jinyi finished speaking, rose from the chair. I really have to go now. I wish you happiness. Xiu Fan wanted to hold on to Jinyi, but Jinyi didn't look back and walked away. Xiu Fan stood there, her heart utterly lost. The person beside her was leaving her forever this time. Xiu Fan's heart felt as if it would break. Xiu Fan kept on how lonely and difficult it must be for Jinyi. All alone, she truly loved her. But Xiu Fan knew that all of this had to end. Back home, Yang Chen was about to eat dinner. I am going out for a bit, Xiu Fan said. She answered casually, but her mood was heavy. At the dinner table, looking at Yang Chen felt strange. This man was Jinyi's friend, and Jinyi was about to leave, knowing nothing. Hey, what is wrong with you today? Just a little tired. Don't be like that, you will not get sick, Yang Chen said, unusually gentle with Xiu Fan. Xiu Fan's heart grew even more complicated. The guilt toward Jinyi and the shame toward Zhang surged together. Xiu Fan stared out the window, lost in thought, thinking about how lonely and difficult it must be for Jinyi alone. Should it really end like this? Weeks passed, and Jinyi didn't contact Xiu Fan again. Xiu Fan wanted to reach out but also wanted to respect Jinyi's decision, so she held back. Day after day, Xiu Fan felt terrible. 2 weeks passed with no word from Jinyi. Xiu Fan was worried had something happened, but she had no way to contact Jinyi. Xiu Fan could only respect that. Nearly a month later, one day Yang Chen came home from outside, his face very pale. What is wrong? Jinyi passed away. The words struck Xiu Fan like thunder. Her mind went blank. My friend Jinyi, how could Yang Chen said. tears streaming. Xiu Fan nearly lost her balance. Jinyi had truly left this world. How could this be? Xiu Fan's heart felt as if it would shatter. She had to pretend nothing was wrong. A friend gone so suddenly. What a shame, Xiu Fan said in a trembling voice. Yes, gone so young. Other friends said she got sick a few months ago, but no one knew. She lived alone. Xiu Fan's heart ached. Jinyi had indeed been alone, with no one knowing when she was with Xiu Fan, yet she had to bear everything by herself. Xiu Fan was truly grateful for the happiness Jinyi had given her. Xiu Fan went alone to the back mountain, sat in the spot where she and Jinyi had once sat together. She poured a cup of beer, raised it to the sky. Jinyi so much. Thank you so much. Xiu Fan sat alone, tears streaming down her face, looking at the stars in the sky, thinking of the time she had spent with Jinyi. It was the happiest time of Xiu Fan's life. Because of Jinyi, Xiu Fan felt alive. Xiu Fan decided to hide the memories of Jinyi deep in her heart. Back home, Wang Chen was still talking about Jinyi. What a pity. Gone. Yes, life is truly empty, Xiu Fan said sincerely. A few days later, Yang Chen came home crying again. I went to Jinyi's place to sort out her things. On the last page, she had written something. What was it? Xiu Fan asked carefully. She wrote to be able to love once more in this world. That was true happiness. I don't know what it means, but she must have been a good person. Hearing this, Xiu Fan's heart was deeply moved. Jinyi had treasured her time with Xiu Fan so much. At the same time, she felt a bit of guilt. Xiu Fan asked about Jinyi's family. Xiu Fan breathed a sigh of relief. As time passed, Xiu Fan's longing for Jinyi deepened. Seeing a similar figure, her heart would race. Walking outside, her relationship with Yang Chen also changed a little. Perhaps because of the grief over Jinyi, they seemed a bit gentler with each other. Hey, have you noticed, Yumi Chen? You ain't nicer to me than before, Yang Chen said one day. Yes, as we get older. Maybe that is just how it is, Xiu Fan answered quietly. In truth, the matter with Jinyi had been a great lesson for Xiu Fan. She came to understand how short and precious life is. They should treat each other well while together, because no one knows what will happen. Yes, looking at Jinyi, I realize life is really short, Yang Chen said. Xiu Fan slowly returned to daily life, bearing the memories of Jinyi deep in her heart. Occasionally remembering, she lived the rest of her life well. Though she didn't have perfect love, she began to understand and cherish each other. Sometimes when she thought of Jinyi, it was with more gratitude than sadness. Xiu Fan was grateful to Jinyi for giving her a taste of love, when she decided to keep that love as a secret. Months passed, and Xiu Fan gradually grew accustomed to ordinary days, when it no longer caused her pain. Instead, it was like a precious treasure, making Xiu Fan reflect on the meaning of life. Her relationship with Yang Chen was better than before. They cared more about each other. Shall we go for a walk? Sure, let us go together. Xiu Fan and Yang Chen went out together. In the past, going out had tired Xiu Fan, but now she treasured this time together. Yang Chen said, Hey, you think we've changed? How was it before? They looked at each other and spoke slowly. As we get older, maybe this is how it is. We can rely on each other and spend our like this. Xiu Fan took Yang Chenyan's hand. Yes, after experiencing what happened with Jinyi, Xiu Fan and Yang Chen held hands tightly. Xiu Fan suddenly remembered Jinyi's words to Xiu Fan. Go back to your family. Treat Yang Chen well. Another year passed. Xiu Fan found a modest job, helping out in a small shop. She felt like she was still a part of society. Hey, congratulations. You really found a job. Yang Chen was genuinely happy for her. It was a humble job, but it was good to have something to do. Not for the money, but for the vitality of life. Xiu Fan threw herself into her work, and her heart gradually gained confidence. The time with Jinyi had given her courage. Xiu Fan felt she was a charming woman again, a feeling that became a foundation. One day on her way home from work, Xiu Fan suddenly remembered the spot in front of the MRT station where she had first met Jinyi. The image of Jinyi's gentle smile surfaced in her heart. Jinyi, how are you? Xiu Fan whispered softly in Jinyi's direction. Xiu Fan's mood lightened considerably. Back home, Yang Chen was preparing dinner. Good. I am getting more used to it. But that's good. Is there anything you want to eat tonight? Xiu Fan answered softly. Yang Chen smiled slightly. Xiu Fan had slowly realized the precious things Jinyi had taught her. Hey, you've really become more positive, gentler than before. Yes, somehow it just happened. But she answered calmly. No, just getting older and having some insights. What insight? That we are precious to each other. Young Chen was moved and took Xiu Fan's hand. Xiu Fan felt that having him there was wonderful. Xiu Fan felt that Jinyi, in the end, had helped her reach Yang Chen's heart. Xiu Fan looked out the window and smiled slightly. She wondered if there was another world. Thank you so much, and because of you, I have been able to live this ordinary yet happy life. Xiu Fan prayed silently in her heart. Though that relationship had no outcome, in the end, it was a major turning point for Xiu Fan. Because of that turning point, Xiu Fan became stronger and learned what truly mattered. She hoped no one would ever know the secret. That brief love had ended, but Xiu Fan would keep it forever in her heart as the most precious and saddest memory of her life. Xiu Fan would not forget the love Jinyi had given her, nor how that love had changed her. Now, she had indeed reached a turning point. Ordinary days, being with Yang Chen, understanding each other, living the rest of her life well. Perhaps that was the best way to preserve that memory. Days, one after another. Xiu Fan still went to the small shop every day to help out, and occasionally she would go alone to the back mountain to sit, bringing a can of beer, whispering words only she could hear to the wind. She no longer cried, just sat quietly, watching the clouds gather and disperse in the sky. Much like the meetings and partings between people, Yang Chen seemed to have changed too. He no longer frowned as easily as before, and sometimes he would have dinner ready by the time Xiu Fan got home from work. The two of them would sit at the table, chatting desultorily, nothing special, but the quiet companionship made Xiu Fan feel at ease. Sometimes she thought if Jinyi were still here and saw them like this, she would probably be happy too. In the spring, Xiu Fan picked up a small, smooth, round stone on the back mountain. She brought it home and placed it on the windowsill. Whenever sunlight came in, the stone would gleam faintly. Xiu Fan never told anyone where the stone came from, but sometimes in the early morning or at dusk, she would stand by the window and gently touch it, as if touching a time that could never return. One day Yang Chen suddenly asked her, "You seem to smile more often lately." Xiu Fan paused, then nodded softly. Yang Chen didn't ask further. He just reached out and gently patted Xiu Fan's shoulder. Xiu Fan didn't pull away. That night, Xiu Fan had a dream. In the dream, Jinyi wore a light blue dress, standing in a field of flowers, smiling at her. Xiu Fan tried to walk toward her, but no matter how hard she tried, Jinyi waved at her, her lips moving slightly as if saying something. When Xiu Fan called into hear, the dream ended. Outside the window, the sky was already light. Xiu Fan lay in bed, listening to Yang Chen's steady breathing. Tears streaming silently down her face, but the corners of her mouth were slightly raised. She knew that Jinyi was telling her to live well, to cherish the person in front of her. Life continued. Xiu Fan would still occasionally think of that figure in front of the MRT station, the tight-knit top, the gentle voice saying, "You are going to 40岁. Hooray, doing a wonderful thing." But those images no longer cut as sharply as they once did. Instead, they had become like old photographs, fuzzy edges, faded colors yet possessing a kind of indescribable warmth. Xiu Fan learned to find small sweetness in ordinary days. When a customer at the shop said thank you, when Yang Chen occasionally poured her a glass of water, she felt the home was empty, so cold. If she saw a beautiful sunset, she would stop and admire it, meaning that Jinyi would probably have liked to see such a view too. She no longer blamed herself, nor did she blame anyone else. I was just like some people come, some go, and what they leave behind is not necessarily a wound, but something that makes you more complete. Autumn came again. Xiu Fan and Yang Chen went together to the back mountain. The wind was strong that day, rustling the leaves. Yang Chen walked ahead. Xiu Fan followed behind the two of them, one after the other. Much like the decades of their lives, not too close, not too far, yet always within each other's sight. At the summit, Yang suddenly turned around, reached out his hand, and said, "Come sit here." Xiu Fan placed her hand in his, and he held it steady. In that moment, Xiu Fan felt that something that had been inside her finally settled gently to the ground. She leaned on Yang Chen's shoulder, looking at the layered mountains in the distance, and said softly in her heart, "Jinyi, see, I am doing well. Thank you so much." The wind blew, rustling her hair. Yang Chen reached over and gently smoothed it tender. Xiu Fan closed her eyes, the corners of her mouth curving into a quiet arc. She knew that all the secrets had been carried away by the wind. What remained were the solid, real days worth cherishing.